Thanks for tuning in to Born to Ride TV, the longest-running biker TV show in the world. This week,
it was really weird and hard to explain, but basically this shadow figure or this apparition cast its own shadow.
All this and more here on Born to Ride.
Born to Ride is sponsored in part by Rubenstein Law, 1-800-FL-LEGAL, representing riders since 1988. Offices throughout Florida, 1-800-FL-LEGAL.
Hi, I'm attorney Robert Rubenstein, and this is Rubenstein's Rules for Personal Injury. Rule number 1, get an attorney. When you or a loved one have been injured by another's negligence, an experienced attorney can make a huge difference. At Rubenstein Law, we will find all of the insurance, make sure your injuries are documented, and work to get you the best result. While each case is different, a well-known insurance company's own study showed people with a lawyer on average got more money. Call Rubenstein Law at 1-800-FL-LEGAL.
It's an Eagle Knievel rally! Far out! Wow!
Evel Knievel, sold separately or with the Evel Knievel stunt cycle from Ideal.
Hi, this is Evel Knievel, and you're watching Born to Ride.
Wildwood Antique Malls, 3 amazing locations to find your treasures in Florida. Vero Beach, Eustis, Wildwood. More than just antiques. Tons of rare collectibles, toys, books, vintage furniture, records, jewelry, and so much more. Open 7 days a week. Great staff, clean, and air-conditioned for your shopping pleasure for the whole family. So put it on your bucket list because it's a must-see for these 3 locations. For more information, wildwoodantiquemalls.com.
Hey, it's Debbie with Born to Ride. Tune in every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. on the Boss Hog Radio, a fast hour of good talk. Good biker talk, what you really want to hear.
And an introduction.
Okay, and Miranda Young live.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
Hi.
Miranda, would you please explain to these folks, would you tell them what an EVP session is?
Absolutely. So that's kind of one of the main things that I do. I'm kind of an old school investigator. Spend a lot of time just sitting and listening and asking questions, listening for those EVPs. An EVP is an electronic voice phenomenon, and there are typically 2 types. One is the type that we don't hear in real time. We just call those EVPs, and we pick them up on different recorders that we have. The other are disembodied voices, and those are the ones that you actually hear in the moment. And there's sometimes when I'm investigating, you'll see in my videos that I'm wearing headphones, and if I have those headphones plugged into my recorder, I can hear what my recorder hears in real time, and sometimes I'm able to actually catch those voices coming over the recorder, even if they're not a disembodied voice.
Can you tell them what an EMF meter is?
Sure, yeah, that measures the electromagnetic frequency, and anytime I go into a location, I always do a base reading because pretty much everything gives off EMF, and you have a base reading when you go into a location. And so if it's a location that's abandoned and there's no power or anything like that, then we're not going to get false readings or spikes. But if I'm doing a residential location, then I go in and I check the base reading, and because different conduits and power will spike that EMF. But the theory behind it is that if there is a spike in electromagnetic frequency activity, that could potentially be some type of unexplained phenomena, which could be spirit activity.
Wow.
How about do you ever use those binary response devices where you're looking for yes and no answers?
Absolutely. Being that I ride my motorcycle to the different locations, I do have to end up traveling light, and so I'm real particular about the pieces of equipment that I'll take to different locations because my space is limited. But I have several different binary devices that will answer yes and no. One of them that I actually really like to use to ask yes and no questions are my dowsing rods, which here in the Appalachians we call, they're used for witching water. And, basically they're copper rods. They're not electronic, so you don't have to worry about the battery drain. And they free spin. You hold them in your hand, they free spin, and you ask yes and no questions. Yes, they'll cross the rods. No, they'll keep them open. You can ask, if you're in a room for, if there's someone there to point at a certain point in the room, and they'll move the rods in that direction. I really like using those because, some of the spirits that we're dealing with they're older. They may not, be comfortable touching an electronic device. They may not understand that. So I really like to use the rods because it's something that's easy and familiar. But I do have a lot of electronic gadgets that I'll use to ask yes and no questions, measure the temperature, EMF readings. My EDI box, I love that because it's small. It's kind of like a science box. It's got a geofoam in it to where if it's touched, it picks up the vibration, and this piece actually has to be touched. It's got a built-in K2 meter in it, and it gives temperature readings, pressure changes, and humidity and that sort of thing all at one time, so you can kind of check the atmospheric changes around to see if any of that is correlated with any type of unexplained activity and readings that you're getting from the other pieces of equipment.
Well, and Miranda, you've been doing this for years, right?
I have. I've been a paranormal investigator for about 10 years now, and I've been doing ghost biker explorations for 3.
Well, and so, having had all of these experiences, what is your take? Do you think ghosts are just residual energy, or do you actually think that they're spirits that haven't figured out how to move on? The traditional go to the light, Carol Ann thing.
I'm always learning something every day from the variety of locations that I go to, and for me, I've been able to get both residual and intelligent activity. A lot of the activity that we do get is residual that I feel like is sort of trapped energy in a location. Other times, and, we've been able to document this through the web series, they've been able to intelligently respond, answer questions. So in some cases, I do believe that we are dealing with intelligent energy that may potentially be hanging around because either they have a message they want to get across or they may be trapped for some reason. I've even come into contact at times where I've been in homes that have had multiple spirits and they have oppressed, one spirit has been oppressing the others because it is potentially negative. So I've really gotten both kinds of activity. It's really fascinating the different types of activity that you can get at the different places.
Wow, Miranda, tell me something about your grandmother, because didn't she inspire you with some as a young child?
She did. That's really kind of how I got my interest in this. My grandmother used to share stories. When I was really young, she was between the ages of 90 and 95. And she was always telling me stories about folklore and different haints here in the Appalachian Mountains. And so both her and my dad used to tell me about, days of old and, the way things were, and really ingrained the importance of storytelling. And so that's what I like to do with my web series. Being able to go out and make contact with the paranormal and see if there's paranormal is amazing, but being able to tell those stories about the history of the location. And one thing people will notice when on my web series is that, I always, ask them and tell them, I want to tell your story. So she really instilled that in me by, telling me about a lot of the folklore, and that's what I like to share on my web series. Really at a very young age, probably around 9 or 10 years old, I really loved the show Unsolved Mysteries, and it used to intrigue me and creep me out at the same time. And so, so I would watch that, and then every opportunity that I would get, I would be in the library or at the local archives, just, trying to read some of those really old books, Foxfire and Haunting in the Appalachians. And, I was always interested, and I started watching some of the paranormal entertainment shows back when they first started in the late 90s. And then I didn't really go out and investigate until I was approached by the team that I used to be a member of. They approached me because of my background in photography and wanted me to look at some pictures and try to possibly debunk some of the things that they had gotten while they were on an investigation. They were an all-male team of 4 members. And so, one picture turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, and 4 turned into 20. And then they invited me to go on an investigation of a local bar and Mexican restaurant at a marina in town. And so went on that investigation and had a lot of luck. Got a lot of great Class A EVPs and a lot of flashlight activity, and was even touched while I was there. I had a drink with the lady that was supposed to haunt the bar. She was a regular, and by asking different questions, I was able to confirm, they knew what her favorite drink was. I didn't know, but we were able to get answers from, on the flashlights and stuff that was able to, it proved what her drink was. And after that investigation, the bug bit me, and I was invited to be a member of the team.
The Hog Stars are at it again. They are taking anything on trade. Old hogs, new hogs, even actual hogs. Don't own a hog? We will take whatever you have on trade. From boats to goats, you'll get top dollar for it. Bring your trade to Crystal Harley-Davidson today.
Seattle Engraving Center, the masters of gun customization, featuring incredible detailed engraving, 24-karat gold plating, diamonds, gems, murals, amazing gold accents, first-class quality, 100% satisfaction. More bang for your buck from their showroom. Raise money for your charity with a one-of-a-kind prize. Seattle Engraving. You dream it, they will create it.
What I want to ask you first about your love for motorcycling. How did you get into biking? What are you riding, and why do you ride?
Sure. I absolutely love any time that I can be out on my bike, and I always wanted to ride. My family was not a riding family, but I'd always wanted to ride, and back in 2009, I got my first motorcycle, went and took the MSF course, and got my first bike, and then I got the bike that I currently ride now, which is an 883 iron, and it's the blacked out, kind of throwback edition. Absolutely love that bike, and any opportunity that I'm able to get out on that and go, I find it really helps me, because when I go into a different location, you've really got to be centered, grounded, and really be in a good place mentally when you go in. And to me, there's no better place than on the seat of that bike to, clear your mind and get ready. So it actually works out really well with the investigating.
You're very talented as an artist, and you've sent us some sketches and some drawings, and tell us about your artwork and how that came about.
I always like to draw the place that I go and visit, and that's really how it started, was by drawing the different locations, and then I would present the owner of the location with the drawing. And I found that I was really able to identify with the location. When you spend 6 to 8 hours sitting, staring at a picture or looking at a location, you can really get an intimate look at that place. So it really helped me with my investigating, and then that's actually how I fund my travels now. Is I would do the drawing of the places, and then I sell the prints. And the sale of the prints of the different haunted locations, I put that money back into my travel. And, and so then that turned into commission pieces of motorcycles, portraits, pets. I always say, if you can love it, I can draw it. But, I find for myself, I'm not really too afraid of very much when I'm in these locations, because I do approach it with a respect. Especially if I'm doing a battlefield or doing Native American lands or different experiments like that. These were once people, and so I find that I always approach with a sense of respect. Now, it can be creepy because I do sleep in these locations sometimes. Normally I'm in them for, 6, 8, 12 hours, and so I'll always try to sleep in them if I can. And I get even more different activity whenever I'm sleeping in there. We've had some really intense experiences at some of these places, especially with, the Native American and the battlefield, you can get some pretty interesting and intense stuff.
My mother saw a full-body apparition once that went right over her and through the wall behind her.
Wow.
And so, it's like you hear these stories. Miranda, have you ever seen like a full-body apparition at one of these?
I saw, it wasn't a full body, but Brushy Mountain State Prison in Petros, Tennessee, it was one of the most active places that I've ever done, and such a variety of activity there. And that was one that I also slept at. But I've stayed there on 6 different occasions, and on one in particular, we were doing a Native American experiment up in the kitchen area or cafeteria area of the prison. And after we had played some Native American chants and had some different items that we were kind of offering as trigger objects, there was it was a shadow figure that we saw, and there was 9 of us that was in there. I was with several other teams on that particular night, and we saw a head and shoulders. It was really weird and hard to explain, but basically this shadow figure or this apparition cast its own shadow in one of the flashlights that we had sitting up. And there was probably, it doesn't sound like long, but it was about 6 seconds of this head and shoulder shadow walk across, and it literally strolled across the room. 6 seconds in paranormal time is a long time. So that was pretty intense and that's been probably the most I've seen as far as an apparition. Yeah, people can follow the web series. We just wrapped up season 3 this week, and so they can catch up on seasons 1, 2, and 3 on the Ghost Biker Explorations YouTube channel, Ghost Biker Explorations Facebook page, and then also on www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. I'm very active on the Facebook page because we'll be doing lives, having the event calendar posted as far as any meet and greet events or haunted rides that we'll be having next year, because we've got a lot of really cool things planned for then. And then also people can purchase Ghost Biker Explorations merchandise or any of the drawings on the website.
Awesome. Well, Miranda, we can't thank you enough for being a part of Born to Ride, for being in the magazine, for taking the time to call in today. I know you're really busy, and we just want to thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure. I appreciate, getting to know you guys and you having me on and sharing my story.
The Hog Stars are at it again. They are taking anything on trade. Old hogs, new hogs, even actual hogs. Don't own a hog? We will take whatever you have on trade. From boats to goats, you'll get top dollar for it. Bring your trade to Crystal Harley-Davidson today.
Hi, I'm Evel Knievel, and I'm here sitting on my new California motorcycle, limited edition signature series, motorcycle 1 of 500. Behind me is the rocket that I tried to jump the Snake River Canyon in, and the XR 750 that I set several world records with, and a statue that was given to me by Taft Broadcasting at Kings Island, where I jumped 15 Greyhound buses. I have one motorcycle that I've donated or displayed at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. This is the other 750 that I have. It's going in my new restaurant, and of course the SkyCycle X2 that I tried to jump the canyon with. Remember, watch Born to Ride.
Is your business becoming invisible? Create a great advertising relationship today with Born to Ride.